I want to be 1,000,000,000% clear. The globalists have launched their great offensive. Everything is going to accelerate from this point, and we've run out of time. These are not probes. They're not testing anymore. They're dropping the hammer. The hammer has already fallen. And the sparks are beginning to fly as they attempt to beat the once free republics of the West into a weapon system to carry out the extermination of the majority of this planet's population. And it hit me this morning. I have never been more shaken isn't the word. More gripped by the understanding and the sorrow and the grief that my fellow countrymen, my fellow humans, have willfully turned themselves over spiritually, culturally, metaphysically, to the apparatus of tyranny, the common sense to stand against it. Just shreds of honor is all we need to stop this. But the lapdog nature, the cowardly nature of the corporate henchmen that pose as reporters, that pose as journalists, is going to deliver us into a nightmare scenario. And we're already in a nightmare scenario, but it is going to absolutely spiral out of control now. And you can even see the rotting, evil globalists that are running it falling apart in front of our very eyes as they stoke the flames of the funeral pyre that is meant to disintegrate humanity. These people are committed to evil. And then I look at the news and I look at what's happening and I juxtapose it to Donald Trump going to Mexico and saying, let's fight globalism and the New World Order together that have been looting our nations. Let's work together. It isn't that Donald Trump listens to what I have to say. It isn't that Donald Trump's synced with Alex Jones. He is synced to the spirit of resistance. We're tuned into the same historical understanding. I said on air yesterday, no one knows what he's going to say in Mexico. I said, I would say let's battle globalism together. And that's what he did. Unbelievable. And you can just see God giving us this last chance with Donald Trump. Undoubtedly, Donald Trump has been heaven sent. And that's why the system is frothing in fear. So for all the bad things that are happening, a lot of good is happening as well. And all I can tell you is our worst analysis of the globalist plan wasn't as bad as it actually is. And I'm telling the media and everybody else that sold out to this system, you people are out of your minds. Where is your discernment, your gut? I mean, you think you're going to ally with this and you're going to be winners? Oh, my God. This is the greatest evil the planet has ever faced. We'll be back. Stay with us. This is Babylon. Make no mistake. Babylon will fall in 1 hour. How could a whole system fall in 1 hour? Computers, my friends. That's some interesting science fiction from 2,000 years ago. Or is it? Well, we're living it one way or the other. It's either real and prophecy, or they've used it as a blueprint. And that's really the deception of the elite. They believe they're using it as a blueprint, which is the biggest joke of all. Because even if you're using it as a blueprint, you then make it reality, because that's what humans do. We build it. We make it. We're able to construct it if we can envision it. And that's why the globalists tell us that we're a bad species and an ugly species and a stupid species and we need to be brushed off the earth, talking to us like they're not human because they're psychopaths. And a lot of psychiatrists and experts that study real psychopaths will tell you they're not people and they don't see you as having any value. They don't have the real human components like passion and love and honor. All they want to do is control and hurt people. Look at drudgereport.com today if you're watching us on television. If you're on the radio, obviously go to Infowars.com or drudgereport.com and you can see these articles. Matt Lauer, Clinton Global member to moderate first presidential forum. That's right. He's a big part of their global initiative where people put money in there and then they launder it and take it right back out. She keeps 96% one year, 97% another year of the money for herself. At least she's better than Bono. Bono gives 1.2%. No, Hillary gives 3 or 4%. She's very gracious. Oh, boy. And now he's going to moderate the debate. You know, they don't want to make Trump a martyr, but Trump had better watch the food he's eating. And obviously Trump knows that. But it just hit me. They like to see a great man crawl. They want to bring down strong people and make them weak like they are. Poison's always the #1 go-to, isn't it? But there are more high-tech forms of poison today. Electromagnetic. Just a thought. Continuing. Oh, Facebook satellite burns on the pad. But Facebook is a deep state organ, so I'm sure it'll get a few more of those up real quick. SpaceX rocket explodes at Cape Canaveral Space Center, blowing up Facebook's 150 million pound internet satellite. Let's stop right there. You know what's getting blown up right now? I'm going to make this announcement. Unequivocally, I'm sure of it. It hit me like a speed bullet freight train going downhill this morning. Hit me so hard that I was stunned for an hour or two. Ran over me like a thunderbolt. The main assault's on. Everything else has been a test. Everything else has been a beta test. Everything you've seen with the globalists studying cultures, societies, economies, getting everything rigged from the stock market to interest rates to currency rates. Admittedly, all rigged now. They now have major newspapers, have computers writing news stories for them. I told people about that 10 years ago. The CIA developed it. Now it's ubiquitous. The ships are going to robot. The cars are going to robot. The trucks are going to robot. The technocracy is in place. The New World Order is now officially, in 2016, that's what the Supreme Court Justice was telling Drudge. Get ready, it's all going to start next year. And it is. They're going from beta to 1.0. That means New World Order. This is it. We are in the New World Order. We have crossed the line as of right now. In fact, mark the date. 9/1. September 1st, 2016. They've turned on the technocracy, the world government. And I've got all the articles in front of me where the internet censorship is exploding, where Germany's getting ready to collapse. They are rolling their whole thing out. They are censoring. When a guy saves a baby and is a hero, they blur the Trump off his shirt on the news. I mean, they have armies of sycophant humans who are busily selling out their fellow humans, thinking they're going to get a slot at the table, even though they're setting up automated algorithm AI systems to replace them. It'd be like if you were a chef that was cooking for cannibals and your food stock was, you know, a pen of 30 or 40 people, and some of them were your family in there, but that's okay. And every day you knock somebody else on the head, and then they bring them in and you cut them up, and then you cook them and you serve them to your masters upstairs. You don't ever really get a look at. You just kind of send the plates on, you know, through a conveyor belt, and something in there eats them. And then finally one day, you get a little teletype out, telling you, oh, we want you to train this individual to help us cook, to prepare the meat, to prepare the feast. And you say, well, I'm the chef. I don't need any help. Oh, just please train this new chef, because we've been looking at you and we think you're fattened up now and it's time to eat you too. And you dumbasses are sitting there with a pen of your fellow humans that you're serving up, and you don't understand you're next on the conveyor belt because you've been taught how to be a synthetic sociopath or psychopath. That's what all this TV and murder and the simulations and the shoot 'em up games and all of it, and the degradation, the movies and the TV is just to get everybody ready to accept the implosion of the human condition. I'm really blown away by the social engineers, and I mean, they've got a really, really nasty, nasty, nasty comportment. They are the type of people that grab your kid out of the backyard and torture them for a month in a dungeon. I mean, that's what we're dealing with here. And it's come out in Europe where the top politicians and leaders have like basements with toddlers they torture for months and rape and kill. I mean, you're like, what in the world are you? That's who runs things. And to them, it's pretty to see breast cancer up a couple thousand percentage points. It's fun to see autism up tens of thousands of percentage points. It's fun to see the once great and mighty human condition brought low, and to see us stumbling around, shuffling zombies. I just can't believe it. And where are the men? Where are the people standing up? And it's here. It's on. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of articles a day from the establishment on how they're going to censor and how they are censoring and how glorious it is. And maybe we should start arresting people we disagree with. Oh, yeah, let's do it. Oh, yeah, that sounds fun. And it's weird, like the zombie trendies and stuff are in a haze, and they've got this operating system of tyranny now, and they're getting off on it, and you see them hopping around, like just feeling the evil, and they're like, oh, this feels good. Other people know what's going on. They decide to punch out. They decide to clock out. They decide to try to escape because they can't handle it. I get it. Problem is, there's nowhere to punch out to. When we come back, I'm gonna get more into the news. I'm gonna play the amazingly historic and presidential speech of Donald J. Trump in Mexico. a very honorable speech, just telling the Mexicans, look, I can't come down here and do whatever I want. You have your sovereignty, we have ours. We're all being screwed over by the multinationals. Let's work together. Trump believes in humanity. Trump believes he can give you a sophisticated argument. Trump believes he can talk about the real players and what's really happening. Trump is betting on that. Because, see, the globalists feed disinfo and low-grade information out to dumb people down. The whole program is in the message. What's in the message isn't even that important, only that it be twisted and screwed up and full of garbage so that we just become a bunch of mindless idiots. But instead, Donald Trump believes people can actually understand what's going on and what's happening. That's coming up. The censorship news is over the top. They're going to bring, I told you they were going to do this, but because they've announced it. I mean, Zuckerberg's been studying it. They're announcing Google is Chinese-style net censorship here in the U.S. It's been announced. It's now official. Imagine being a soulless psychopath. And then think what a soulless creature wants to do. It wants to amass control and power. And it wants to torture and hold captive innocence. Where we heat our hospitals with dead babies. Where we test the flavoring for soft drinks with infant tissue. Where we splice our embryos with animals and bring the abominations to term, grown inside humans and animals. And a world government with a cashless society control grid is only getting started. The crimes were like little waves on a pond compared to a tsunami. Hell itself will manifest on this planet if their program is allowed to be carried out. The Bible says if God didn't intervene, there would be no flesh left on the earth. No flesh left. And now the technology is there to do exactly that. I want to get to all this news. It's such a heavy news day. So many incredibly important clips, the most important ever. But I just want to let everybody know, the globalists tend to launch major operations, give New World Order speeches on September 1st. I just walked into the office and talked to some of the guys, and I said, a major jump in activity, the likes of which we've never seen, the coordination, the globalists admitting they're launching a lot of new big initiatives. This is the global push. And you know, it hit me that when we talk about them stealing the election, and we talk about the Justice Department and Homeland Security saying it's going to come in and run the election now. But Donald Trump's a kook for saying they would do that a month ago. You're like, where's the logic in that? It's a war on logic. These people are just totally turned over to lies. And it's one unified spectrum of deception, whether it's CNN or whether it's MSNBC or NPR, and they just spew an entire false reality. And their minions go with it in lockstep, and no one reports on the new emails pouring out daily. There's new ones. They're on Infowars.com where Nancy Pelosi admits that ISIS is Al-Qaeda and it's U.S. policy to use them in the Middle East to take over countries. Now, we already knew that. Cy Hirsch has come out with that. And I just use that as a credibility point. We broke it. You broke it. You pushed it. Drudge put it out. It's true. It's like going into a bar and, you know, some guy is playing darts and puts all 5 darts right in the bullseye, and you go, that guy's a terrible dart player. Yeah, that'd be a satire joke, wouldn't it? But the public would believe it. if they're in that zombified condition. Yes, you're a terrible dart player. Amazing. So, looking at this, let me show you what's emblematic before I come back and get into all the censorship and then play Trump's speech. What's emblematic? Watch Headline News, who just fired Dr. Drew because he dared come out and say Hillary needs to be assessed. HLN blurs out Trump on man's T-shirt who saved baby from hot car. When they rebroadcast it. Isn't that just special? That's what they're doing, ladies and gentlemen. And this story came out in October of 2015, and BBC and others pitched it like it was no big deal. Total control over the internet, creating electronic ghettos where you can't even make money on the internet or have a job in the physical third dimension. If you criticize the government and corporations, YouTube and Google are now announcing this system in the terms of service. It's happening. Zuckerberg has been coordinating with the Chinese communists as well. And those are war drums, folks. That's what this broadcast is all about, trying to get people out of their trance. Get them out of the virtual reality for just long enough to see what's being woven around you and how many people and civilizations and countries have been sucked dry by these spiders. The innocent are crying out for protection. You can feel it. All right, let me plunge into the news now and get into the Trump speech and a lot more. Before I go any further, I'm not going to sit here and do a long pitch. I've just gotten to the point where I want to thank the listeners and viewers that understand that they're trying to censor everyone and shut everybody's advertising money off and bankrupt talk radio and take over Fox News. And we have their own memos and Hillary Clinton coming out in her fundraising emails. This isn't even secret, saying we're going to shut down the alt media starting with Breitbart. This is outrageous. And instead, they've got pundits on TV going, yeah, that's great. They don't have a right to exist. The refrain now when we go out and cover anti-Trump rallies is Alex Jones needs to die. Donald Trump needs to die. And it's always super weak, pathetic people that just want to throw around talk of killing. It's so historic. It's got all the telltale signs of society about to go completely belly up. And again, Germany says brace for a giant emergency. The German government does. We write a story about it and people go, oh, you're fear-mongering. I'm fear-mongering? German banks are teetering on the verge of collapse. That's mainstream German news. That'll make Lehman Brothers in 2007 and 2008 look like a breeze, a summer breeze compared to a typhoon, a hurricane, a tempest, a maelstrom. You can see it intellectually. You can feel it. I mean, I told you, building up the last few years, my concern, my spirit has been really concerned 5 times what it ever was, 10 times, 20 times. It's now just full blast spider sense is, oh, my God. And then I can look at it happening. And you can look at the headlines and what they're doing and how they're pitching it, and then you can go, oh, let me go actually read what Davos said about this 3 years ago, and you go read it, and it's exactly what they're doing. I mean, but I don't even need to go read their documents anymore. I've got their plan because I've watched them lay it out. It's like they're laying out more railroad track in front of me, and I see where it's going, and I'm like, oh, my God, this is unbelievable. You talk about a highway to hell, people think of that an AC/DC song as some fun place. No, this isn't fun where we're going. And a lot of people say, Alex, don't fearmonger, don't scare us. It's not fearmongering. Our house is on fire. Our only hope is to admit this is going on. When I say repent, I don't mean to go to some establishment government-run church and worship some preacher like he's God. I mean really get on our knees and repent. Just for everything going on in the world. I'll tell you what really gets to me. in my spirit, my gut, I feel guilty for all this stuff. And I see the evil increasing, and it's so horrible. And it wants to hurt innocent people, and I just feel like I'm on fire to resist it. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. It's like, well, we need to fight this right now. We need to do something. And the impetus I had 25 years ago to fight, was there, but it was more like just a push. Now it's like a torrent. And I just simply want to ignite people's gut-level instincts to see evil and to see tyranny and to see how if you're in a parking lot and some shady guys start getting around you, you go, oh, my God, I'm about to get shaken down. Everybody's ever been shaken down. That's how most muggings happen. People just brandish a gun or a knife or say, we're going to beat the hell out of you, give us your money. They used to do it to women. The point is, we're being surrounded, and they're shaking us down. And we're going, oh, thank you, New World Order. You're so nice. Because the mainstream media continues to run this con game that what they're doing is okay. It's not okay. It's a false illusion. And people are seeing through that illusion, but they can't have any independent media out there that'll say back to the public, yes, you're right. What you see is wrong. 6% trust rate in mainstream media. So that's where all this is going. I'm not going to belabor it. We sell the very best products, the very best nutraceuticals out there at very, very low prices. We have the best selenium from our research. It's just amazing for the mustard seed, such a key element. Just go research selenium for yourself and then realize why you want BioTrue selenium from InfoWarsLife.com. Everybody needs multivitamins, and most of them are synthetic or you don't absorb them. We set out, it took us 2.5+ years to develop it. It's proprietary, plant-derived vitamin mineral fusion with the amino acids and other cofactors. Great way to get your kids, to be healthier and to actually absorb their multivitamin. A true game changer. Available at InfoWarsLife.com. To spread the word, we have the Hillary for Prison shirts that are at cost, $9.95. That includes shipping. $9.95 is what it cost us to print them, ship them out the door to your door. InfoWarsStore.com is the umbrella site. And then that funds the running of this media operation, which you can see is changing the world because you are changing the world. But more importantly than even buying the products, I do ask for your prayers. And I do ask that you make sure that all of our efforts are not in vain and that you send out the videos, the articles, the information we put out, and that you save it and you make copies of it and you share it with people. And we need a desperation. And people always misinterpret the term desperation and just think of somebody who's totally given up on an island and is going to starve to death, and then they have desperation. It's larger than that, and I forget whoever one of the most famous samurais was, but I've quoted the quote many times that the way of the samurai is desperate. And that means in a fight, like everything you've got, you're desperate. You're desperate to get the car off your little kid. And people see some 60-year-old woman, lift a car off. Police have seen that many times, firefighters, you name it. They're like, how the hell did you do that? And it's because the governor switches off. We have to get desperate, people. We're in desperate straits, and the system laughs and giggles and makes fun of everything and tries to transmute us being concerned into that. But I'm personally so on fire with concern. It's like 69 degrees in here, and I'm sweating. Because my body is on fire with the desperation of trying to get people out of their trance. Now, I'm going to go to the Trump clip in a moment. I'm going to skip the network break coming up so we have time. But it's here. The censorship's happening. It's intensifying. They say they're coming for us. They have attorney generals meeting, wanting to arrest people that deny man-made climate change. They are persecuting people in the schools. They're annihilating free speech. They're blurring Trump shirts on TV when they invite someone on as a guest who's a hero. It is total management crafting. It is propaganda to the 10th level. Remember 2 years ago, Congress, quote, legalized the CIA involved in domestic propaganda? And then the Deputy Secretary of Defense came out and gave a speech to the military and civilian psychological warfare group, 45-minute long speech. I played it. And they talked about the Drudge effect, and they said, we can't lie anymore because we'll get caught by the internet, Drudge being emblematic of that. And it cut to the people in the audience, and the older ones looked completely sick because they knew what this really was. This was the announcement of, we're going operational here domestically, and you're going to go out and do it. But then they had some younger people that were in PR and you know, writing for armed services publications get up and go, this is great because I really don't like having to lie to people. And they're like, oh, thank you. She doesn't quite get it, does she? She's like, oh, we're going to tell the truth now. But it goes further than that, because at that very time, large sections of the military were actually refusing to go along with it. So see, what they even claimed they were doing, even though it was a PSYOP, backfired. Because at this point, with a general population that is in a trance, won't stand up for anybody, including themselves, who's the only group they know that, as twisted and screwed up in many cases as they are, like all of us? The military. They're phasing the military out right now. They're bringing in automation. They're bringing in machines. They've got all the movies and video games priming the little girls to not be princesses or doctors. Or no, you're going to be a soldier now. You're going to be a technocrat. And I was just thinking about how they're installing dictators in Italy and in other countries like Greece, where they actually put Goldman Sachs presidents and Goldman Sachs directors in, and they say, oh, we call this technocracy when we install someone. I remember that major bankhead when I was on the airplane off record, where I'd tell you his name, just looking at me and going, Alex, the big banks know how to run things better, and soon we're going to run everything. And you think the public's going to adapt and wake up and fight this? No, they're going to adapt to submitting to it. Because basically, humanity's done. And he had the perfect hair and the perfect smug face and the perfect suit that didn't even look wrinkled after a 3.5-hour flight from Austin to New York. And he got his black trench coat and put it over his arm and just laughed at me. But in my hours of conversation with him, sitting in first class right beside me, when he talked about his dad, a general who he was visiting in San Antonio, you know, he looked like he loved his dad and had this look in his eye. Yeah, my dad's getting old. This guy would look like he was about 60. And it's like, you care about your dad, but you don't care about the general public because you think they're stupid. But the ruling engineers admit they designed it to make people even stupider than they already would be. So you care about your daddy, but you don't care about people around you who aren't your family. So you're not a psychopath. You're an arrogant person that just wants power. You're a control freak. And you better hope there's not a hell, buddy boy. And I'll assure you there is. One dimension over, sweetie pie. One jump. And you're not going to be here anymore. When you go through that portal that atheists and everybody else go through, and every person from every culture throughout time says they see when you die, you're going to have to go be with people like you. That's all. You just go like a magnet to who you are. You want to be like this at the next level? When we graduate from this level, that's how the universe works. When we go to the next level, you don't want to go to the next level, do you? You want to go down a level, don't you? They call that hell. Now, it's hell because there's people like you in it. You make it hell. You and your hate and your greed and your weakness and your dishonor consume yourselves. You're your own kindling. It's metaphysical. It's archetypal. It's poetry in motion. Thousands of years ago, there was a basic form of chivalry. Our ancestors would hear the drums of war, giving the warriors of the tribe a chance to organize and prepare a defense. 60 years ago, when foreign air forces were approaching filled with bombs, they had drums of their own, air raid sirens. But in the 21st century, there are silent weapons for quiet war. Pathogens added to the food and water, and to the lining of plastics that destroy our vitality, turn off our hormones, and accelerate our journey towards death. I personally counter this onslaught with Anthroplex. Anthroplex is designed with known organic concentrated herbs to create the basic foundation to normal metabolic activity inside the human body. Discover why Anthroplex is turning so many heads today. It's time for us to take our bodies back into our own hands, and it starts at InfoWarsLife.com with Anthroplex. Deliver us into a nightmare scenario. And we're already in a nightmare scenario, but it is going to absolutely spiral out of control now. And you can even see the rotting, evil globalists that are running it falling apart in front of our very eyes as they stoke the flames of the funeral pyre that is meant to disintegrate humanity. These people are committed to evil. And then I look at the news and I look at what's happening and I juxtapose it to Donald Trump going to Mexico and saying, let's fight globalism and the New World Order together that have been looting our nations. Let's work together. It isn't that Donald Trump listens to what I have to say. It isn't that Donald Trump's synced with Alex Jones. He is synced to the spirit of resistance. We're tuned into the same historical understanding. I said on air yesterday, no one knows what he's going to say in Mexico. I said, I would say let's battle globalism together. And that's what he did. I want to be 1,000,000,000% clear. The globalists have launched their great offensive. Everything is going to accelerate from this point, and we've run out of time. These are not probes. They're not testing anymore. They're dropping the hammer. The hammer has already fallen. And the sparks are beginning to fly as they attempt to beat the once free republics of the West into a weapon system to carry out the extermination of the majority of this planet's population. And it hit me this morning. I have never been more shaken isn't the word. More gripped by the understanding and the sorrow and the grief that my fellow countrymen, my fellow humans, have willfully turned themselves over spiritually, culturally, metaphysically, to the apparatus of tyranny, the common sense to stand against it. Just shreds of honor is all we need to stop this. But the lapdog nature, the cowardly nature of the corporate henchmen that pose as reporters, that pose as journalists. He's going to We'll be back. Stay with us. This is Babylon. Make no mistake. Babylon will fall in 1 hour. How could a whole system fall in 1 hour? Computers, my friends. That's some interesting science fiction from 2,000 years ago. Or is it? Well, we're living it one way or the other. It's either real and prophecy, or they've used it as a blueprint. And that's really the deception of the elite. They believe they're using it as a blueprint, which is the biggest joke of all. Because even if you're using it as a blueprint, you then make it reality, because that's what humans do. We build it. We make it. We're able to construct it if we can envision it. And that's why the globalists tell us that we're a bad species and an ugly species and a stupid species and need to be brushed off the earth, talking to us like they're not human because they're psychopaths. Unbelievable. And you can just see God giving us this last chance with Donald Trump. Undoubtedly, Donald Trump has been heaven sent. And that's why the system is frothing in fear. So for all the bad things that are happening, a lot of good is happening as well. And all I can tell you is our worst analysis of the globalist plan wasn't as bad as it actually is. And I'm telling the media and everybody else that sold out to this system, you people are out of your minds. Where is your discernment, your gut? I mean, you think you're going to ally with this and you're going to be winners? Oh, my God. This is the greatest evil the planet has ever faced.